What guides you when the path ahead is unclear? What if there was a tool, an ancient and powerful compass, that could help us find our own true north? This tool exists: philosophy. It's about asking profound questions that give our lives direction and meaning. It is the anchor in the storm, the light in the fog. It is the simple human desire to understand ourselves and our place in the universe. It is about developing the mental tools to examine our thoughts and challenge our assumptions. We are not just passengers in our own lives, we are the drivers. Let's bring philosophy into the light of our everyday lives. What if we understood philosophical ideas as practical tools relevant to our daily struggles? This is the true power of philosophy. It is for living. The Stoics taught we can always control how we respond. Existentialists remind us of the immense freedom and responsibility we have to create our own meaning. It is about taking core insights and using them to navigate your own reality. They are skills to be practiced. The more you practice philosophy, the more effective it becomes in your daily life. There is a simple, powerful question: why? It separates direction from aimless wandering, connecting beliefs to actions. Understanding our why fuels us from within, connecting to our identity and purpose. Philosophy helps us discover and live by our why, transforming values into action. This connection between belief and action is the engine of great human endeavors. Finding your why is a process of exploration and reflection. It starts with a simple question, and ends with a life lived on purpose. We are creatures of story. Long before written language, we shared stories to pass on wisdom and make sense of the world. Stories are how we learn best. The best way to understand philosophy is through the stories of those who used it to shape their lives and the world. History offers us a chance to learn from their successes and failures, providing a blueprint for our own journey. We will meet figures who faced immense challenges like Viktor Frankl, Marcus Aurelius, Nelson Mandela, and Socrates. These stories are demonstrations of human potential, battle-tested strategies for living a life of resilience, purpose, and courage. This introduction has set the stage. We have established that philosophy is a vital, practical tool for modern life. It's the compass that gives us direction, and the source of our deepest why. Now, it's time to begin our journey in earnest. This essay is designed as a roadmap, guiding you through different territories of thought. Our journey will unfold in 3 main acts, each focusing on a core theme. In Act 1, we will explore the profound challenge of finding meaning in the midst of suffering. In Act 2, we will investigate the incredible power of perspective. In Act 3, our focus will shift to living with purpose and the courage it requires. It's an invitation to reflect. Let us take that step together now. We all face hard times. A lost job, a broken heart, a sudden illness, the death of a loved one. These moments can feel like the end of the world, a place where everything feels heavy and meaningless. What is the point of it all? When suffering strikes, it strips away everything that is not essential. It's easy to believe that we are alone in this feeling, but it is precisely here, in the darkest of places, that the search for meaning becomes most critical. The real challenge is to look into the abyss of our hardship and find a reason to keep going. This act of the essay is dedicated to that very search. It teaches us that even when we have lost everything, we still possess the power to choose our response toward turning our deepest wounds into our greatest strengths. To understand the power of meaning, we must travel to Auschwitz, the Nazi concentration camp. It was a place designed to strip people of their humanity. Into this hell walked Viktor Frankl, a psychiatrist. He was separated from his loved ones. He became prisoner 119104. Frankl observed that those who lost their sense of purpose were most likely to die. Frankl decided to use his experience to observe the human psyche. The survivors were those who had found a meaning that transcended their suffering. Finding meaning was Frankl's first act of defiance. They could not control how he chose to interpret his reality. This was the first spark of light that would guide him through the darkest years of his life. In concentration camps, every external freedom was stripped away. Viktor Frankl discovered one freedom that could never be taken away, the freedom to choose one's attitude. This was the space between what happened to him and how he responded. He saw it demonstrated by men comforting others, giving away their last piece of bread. We all face situations where we feel powerless. There is always a pause between the stimulus and our response. In that pause lies our power. Stop being a puppet of your circumstances and start becoming the master of your own soul. Surviving the concentration camp was about finding small, immediate moments of meaning. Frankl called these micro-meanings. They were tiny glimmers of light in overwhelming darkness. For another, it might be a conversation with a friend. Frankl found meaning in the beauty of nature, like a fellow prisoner pointing to the sunset. This lesson is relevant to our own struggles. Find a micro-meaning in your day. It could be the taste of your morning coffee. These small moments can hold the fabric of our well-being together. They are the daily practice of finding a reason to keep going. Frankl observed that resilient prisoners held on to a future-oriented purpose, a reason to survive. It was a specific task only they could fulfill. Frankl, a psychiatrist, aimed to rewrite his lost manuscript on logotherapy. This goal gave his suffering meaning. He pictured lecturing on the psychology of the concentration camp. A clear vision makes present hardships bearable, the price you pay to reach your goal. What is the person you want to become? A meaningful future goal gives you a powerful why, pulling you through tough times. Frankl found love a powerful source of meaning. Even in the concentration camp, the memory of a loved one was an inner sanctuary. During grueling marches, Frankl focused on his wife's image. He'd see her smile and feel her presence. This was a profound source of strength. Love transcended physical presence. It filled his inner world with light. Love is an ultimate purpose. Even stripped of everything, fulfillment can be found through loving. Holding love in one's heart maintains humanity. How does this apply today? The act of loving is a source of meaning. Shift your focus to the well-being of others. Fill your mind with love to find meaning from within. Frankl found meaning in having a task to fulfill. Even in desperate conditions, purpose could be found in the smallest roles. This sense of being needed was a powerful antidote to feeling useless. Frankl believed everyone has a unique mission. It's our responsibility to discover and fulfill it. This transforms work into a source of profound meaning. What is your task? Frankl believed meaning can be found even in unavoidable suffering. Suffering isn't good, but when faced with circumstances we cannot change, we have a unique opportunity. We choose how we bear it. With bitterness or with courage and dignity. Suffering becomes a sacrifice, a chance to demonstrate our highest human qualities. Change your perspective on pain. When you cannot change your circumstances, you can still change yourself. Turn suffering into a source of personal growth and inner dignity. Viktor Frankl survived the Holocaust. He was liberated in 1945, but he had lost almost everything. His wife, his parents, and his brother had all been murdered in the camps. He returned to Vienna a broken man, but a man with a mission. He had survived for a reason, to share the lessons he had learned in the darkest of places. He fulfilled the future goal he had set for himself, and rewrote his manuscript from memory. He published the book that would become a global bestseller, Man's Search for Meaning, and he formalized his psychological approach, which he called logotherapy. The word logos is Greek for meaning, so logotherapy is quite simply therapy through meaning. The core idea of logotherapy is that the primary motivational force in human beings is a will to meaning. This stands in contrast to other schools of thought like Freud's, which proposed a will to pleasure, or Adler's, which proposed a will to power. Frankl argued that people are not fundamentally driven by seeking pleasure or power, but by a deep and innate desire to find a meaning and purpose for their existence. When this will to meaning is frustrated, it can lead to what he called an existential vacuum, a feeling of emptiness, apathy, and despair. This, he believed, was the root cause of many modern psychological problems. Logotherapy is not about digging into a person's past or analyzing their childhood. It is a forward-looking approach. It helps people discover the meaning that already exists in their lives, waiting to be found. A logotherapist would not ask a depressed person, "What is causing your pain?" but rather, "What is the purpose you could still fulfill? What task is waiting for you?" The therapy focuses on three main avenues for discovering this meaning, which we have already explored. First, by creating a work or doing a deed. Second, by experiencing something or encountering someone, whether through love or beauty. And third, by the attitude we take toward unavoidable suffering. Frankl's work has had a profound impact on millions of people around the world. It provides a powerful alternative to a culture that often tells us that happiness comes from accumulating wealth, status, or pleasurable experiences. Logotherapy reminds us that true, lasting fulfillment comes from something deeper. It comes from having a reason to live, from feeling that our life has a purpose, from knowing that our existence matters. It is a philosophy of hope and responsibility. It teaches us that no matter how difficult our circumstances, we always have the freedom and the capacity to find a meaning that can guide us, sustain us, and allow us to live a life of significance. While modern life differs greatly from the extreme suffering of a concentration camp, the human search for meaning is universal. Viktor Frankl argued that a lack of meaning was becoming a primary neurosis of the modern age. Today, we face pressures at work, complex relationships, and social media overload. These hardships test our spirit and force us to ask, what is the point? Frankl's lessons encourage us to pursue meaning, not just happiness. Ask, what is my task? Who do I love? How can I face my struggles with dignity? Let's make this practical. We all face setbacks, a failed business, a missed promotion, or a rejected project. Our instinct is to see these as purely negative, but what if we reframe them? This is the art of reframing. A failed business isn't just a failure, it's a real-world MBA. Rejection can sting, but ask, what is this making possible? Seek the lesson within the pain. Turn failure into wisdom. Ask, what is the purpose of this pain? You are the hero who grows from challenges. A central and perhaps challenging theme in Frankl's philosophy is the emphasis on personal responsibility. In an age where it is common to blame our problems on our upbringing, our environment, or societal structures, Frankl's message is stark and empowering. He insists that regardless of our circumstances, we are ultimately responsible for our own lives. We are responsible for finding our own meaning and for choosing our own attitude. This is not to say that external factors do not have a huge impact on us. They do, but they do not determine us. We are not simply the product of our conditions, we are self-determining beings. This idea can be uncomfortable because it removes all our excuses. If we are unhappy or unfulfilled, we can no longer simply point to our boss, our partner, or our past as the sole cause. We have to look in the mirror and acknowledge the role that our own choices, attitudes, and actions play in our state of being. This is not about self-blame, it is about self-empowerment. It is the realization that if we are responsible for our current situation, then we also have the power to change it. We are not passive victims of fate. We are active participants in the creation of our lives. This responsibility is the flip side of freedom. Think of it as the difference between a thermometer and a thermostat. A thermometer simply reacts to its environment. If the room is cold, the thermometer reads cold. If the room is hot, it reads hot. It has no control. Many people live like thermometers, their mood and happiness determined entirely by external events. A thermostat, on the other hand, sets the temperature. It decides what the environment should be and then works to change the conditions to match its internal setting. Frankl's philosophy calls on us to be thermostats. We are to set our own internal climate, our attitude, our sense of purpose, and not let the external world dictate how we feel. This is the ultimate rejection of a victim mentality. A victim is someone to whom things happen. A responsible person is someone who makes things happen, or at the very least, determines their response to what happens. Embracing this responsibility is the key to unlocking your potential. It means you stop waiting for the world to change and you start changing yourself. You stop waiting for meaning to be handed to you and you start actively creating it through your work, your love, and your courage in the face of suffering. It is a declaration of your own power, a commitment to being the author of your own life story, no matter what challenges the plot throws at you. We have journeyed through the darkest of places and emerged with a profound and hopeful truth. We have seen through the eyes of Viktor Frankl that the search for meaning is not a luxury but a fundamental human need. It is our primary driving force. He called it the will to meaning. It is the innate desire that pulls us forward, that gives us a reason to get up in the morning, and that provides the strength to endure life's inevitable hardships. This is the central lesson of our first act. To live a resilient and fulfilling life, we must connect with this powerful internal engine. We must find our why. This will to meaning is more powerful than any external circumstance. Frankl's story is the ultimate proof. In a situation designed to extinguish all hope and purpose, he and others like him found meaning. It is a choice, a perspective, and a responsibility. It is an invitation to each of us to activate our own will to meaning, and to live a life that is not just successful, but significant. Imagine a fortress inside you. It's a place of safety and calm, a stronghold no external event can breach. This fortress is built from your thoughts, values, and principles. The Stoics called this the inner citadel, your mind, which you alone command. We have power over our inner fortress, our greatest source of strength. Our peace of mind doesn't have to be fragile. Security is built within. Building an inner citadel is training a different response. Retreat inward, assess clearly, and choose your response. Building this inner citadel requires daily practice. Create a space where emotions are observed, not overwhelming. Cultivate an unconquerable inner peace. The ultimate power is controlling our perception. Let us travel back to the 2nd century AD to meet Marcus Aurelius, the Emperor of Rome. His private writings, known as the Meditations, are a treasure of philosophical literature. They are personal reminders and exercises in Stoic philosophy, helping him manage anger and anxiety. He reminds himself that it's not events that upset us but our judgments about them. Marcus Aurelius's life shows that philosophy is for everyone, a practical tool to be better. True strength is examining our thoughts and focusing on what we can control, our mind and character. The Stoics championed a radical shift in how we view challenges. The obstacle is the path. The challenge is not an interruption to your life, it is an opportunity to practice virtue, to become stronger, and to show what you are made of. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "What stands in the way becomes the way." Your mission is to use the process of solving that problem to become a better person. This transforms every negative situation into a potential positive. It is a perspective that makes you anti-fragile. You see every challenge as a crucial ingredient in your journey toward wisdom and strength. The Stoics believed experiences have two parts: the external event and our judgment about it. Events are neutral, our judgments are subjective. It's not the event that causes pain, but our judgment. Rain is just rain. A blessing for a farmer, a disaster for a picnic. Separate the event from your story to rob it of its power. Choose your response. When feeling negative emotions, pause. What happened? What story am I telling myself? Questioning judgments is key to emotional freedom. Building on the previous idea, Marcus Aurelius offers a reminder for navigating our social world. Everything we hear is an opinion, not a fact. We live in a world saturated with opinions from the news, social media, colleagues, friends, and families. Our default is to treat these opinions as objective truths, especially when they concern us. Seeing opinions as just that creates distance, allowing rational evaluation rather than emotional overwhelm. This small mental habit can be transformative, helping you navigate disagreements more calmly. You can choose to see them for what they are, just opinions. Marcus Aurelius reminds us, everything we see is a perspective, not the truth. We see the world through a unique filter of experiences, beliefs, and moods. Acknowledging this is wisdom. When others disagree, consider. From what perspective might their view make sense? Shift your perspective to find new solutions. The truth is more flexible than we think. Let us now leap forward in time almost 2,000 years, from the emperor's palace in Rome to a bleak prison cell in South Africa. We find another man who, like Marcus Aurelius, used the power of his mind to transcend his brutal circumstances. His name is Nelson Mandela. In 1964, Mandela was sentenced to life in prison for his fight against apartheid, a brutal system of racial segregation. He was sent to Robben Island, a harsh and isolated prison where he would spend the next 18 years of his 27-year imprisonment. The goal of the prison was to break the spirit of the political prisoners, to crush their hope, and erase their cause from the world. The conditions were designed for maximum degradation. Prisoners were forced to do hard labor in a limestone quarry, the bright glare of which permanently damaged Mandela's eyesight. They were given meager rations, subjected to the cruelty of the guards, and cut off from the outside world. It was a place of profound suffering, a place where bitterness and hatred could easily have taken root and consumed a person's soul. Many men did break. They succumbed to despair or were consumed by a desire for revenge. But Nelson Mandela made a different choice. He chose to see his prison cell not as the end of his life, but as a continuation of his struggle in a different form. Mandela and his fellow prisoners consciously decided to turn Robben Island into a university. They understood that the apartheid regime could imprison their bodies, but it could not imprison their minds. This was a direct, practical application of the Stoic principle of the inner citadel. They could not control their external environment, but they could control their internal response to it. They committed themselves to education and self-improvement. They organized secret classes, teaching each other literature, history, politics, and law. They held debates, shared ideas, and sharpened their minds. Mandela himself studied Afrikaans, the language of his oppressors, in order to understand them better. This was a profound act of transforming a place of punishment into a place of learning. Mandela was not just passing the time, he was preparing himself. He was using his years of confinement to cultivate the virtues he would need to lead his country one day: patience, discipline, empathy, and a long-term perspective. He was building his inner citadel, not with stone, but with knowledge, character, and an unshakable sense of purpose. He understood that the most important battle was not against the prison guards, but against the internal poisons of bitterness and despair. By choosing the perspective of a student, he turned his greatest challenge into his greatest strength. Robben Island was a crucible. For Nelson Mandela, his 27 years of imprisonment served as a crucible for his character. The intense pressure forged the wise leader who would emerge to change the world. Mandela cultivated a powerful perspective. Seeing his captors as human beings, products of a flawed system, he refused to let hatred consume him, understanding it harms the hater more than the hated. It was a tool for building bridges. He used his time to purify his own spirit. He emerged as a figure of immense moral authority and a symbol of reconciliation. Nelson Mandela's greatest strategic decision was to transform the poison of bitterness into the power of forgiveness. He understood that holding on to anger would keep him chained to the past. Forgiveness was an act of self-liberation. He famously said, "As I walked out the door toward freedom, I knew if I didn't leave my bitterness behind, I'd still be in prison." Mandela knew that a nation divided by racial hatred could never be stable. This meant forgiving the very people who had imprisoned him. It was a demonstration that the new South Africa would be built on reconciliation. It is about choosing to free ourselves from the emotional burden of the past so that we can move forward. Nelson Mandela titled his autobiography, Long Walk to Freedom. This title is often understood to refer to his lifelong political struggle against apartheid and his eventual walk out of prison. But his story teaches us a deeper truth. The most important and most difficult walk to freedom is the one that takes place within the human mind and heart. A person can be physically free, out of prison, living in a free country, and still be a prisoner to their own anger, fear, and resentment. Conversely, a person can be physically imprisoned, like Mandela was, and still achieve a profound state of inner freedom through the mastery of their own perspective. Mandela's journey shows that true freedom is not something that is granted to you by others. It is something you must claim for yourself. It is the freedom to choose your response in any situation. It is the freedom from being controlled by your own worst impulses. It is the freedom to define your own character and live by your own principles, no matter what the world throws at you. This inner freedom is the source from which all other freedoms flow. It was because Mandela first freed himself from hatred that he was able to lead his country to political freedom without descending into a bloodbath. His inner state created the outer reality. This is a direct echo of the Stoic teachings of Marcus Aurelius. Both men, the emperor and the prisoner, understood that the universe within is the only one we can truly command. The outer world is unpredictable and often unjust, but our inner world is our kingdom. Cultivating this inner freedom is hard work. For Mandela, it was a daily practice for 27 years. It involved rigorous self-discipline, constant study, deep reflection, and a conscious effort to see the humanity in everyone, even his enemies. It was a long, slow, deliberate process of shaping his own soul. This is perhaps the most inspiring and challenging lesson from Mandela's life. It calls on us to embark on our own long walk to freedom. It asks us to identify the things that imprison us from within. Is it a fear of failure? A deeply ingrained insecurity? A past trauma we have not dealt with? A consuming anger? These are our inner prison cells. The walk to freedom means facing these inner demons with the same courage and discipline that Mandela faced his outer ones. It is the journey of mastering our own perspective, of choosing forgiveness over bitterness, and of building an inner citadel of peace and integrity that no one can ever take from us. Marcus Aurelius and Nelson Mandela offer practical wisdom for living. Changing our perspective is a skill we can learn. First, observe your thoughts mindfully. Second, question your initial perspective. Is it really a disaster? Third, practice premeditation of evils. Finally, zoom out. See your problem from space. How big does it seem now? Let's expand on the view from above. This is a powerful perspective-shifting tool used frequently by Marcus Aurelius to contemplate the vastness of time and space. He wrote about looking down on the world, seeing the scurrying of people like ants. This exercise is a powerful antidote to anxiety and ego. The view from above helps you to distinguish between the noise and the signal. It allows you to rise above the chaos and connect with a more profound sense of purpose. As we conclude this act on the power of perspective, we arrive at a single powerful conclusion. You are the architect of your own experience. The raw materials of your life, the external events, the actions of others, the circumstances you are born into, are often outside of your control. They are the plot of land you have been given, but you, and you alone, hold the blueprint. You decide what to build on that land. You decide whether to construct a prison of bitterness and resentment, or a palace of wisdom and resilience. The tool you use to build is your perspective. It is honestly the most powerful tool you possess. We have seen this truth embodied in the lives of two towering figures. Marcus Aurelius, the emperor surrounded by power and luxury, used his perspective to build an inner citadel of humility, discipline, and tranquility. He taught us that the greatest empire to rule is the one within our own mind. Nelson Mandela, the prisoner, stripped of everything and subjected to brutal injustice, used his perspective to transform a prison cell into a university and a nation on the brink of civil war, into a beacon of hope for reconciliation. He taught us that the walls of a prison cannot confine a mind that has chosen to be free. Their stories show us that our perspective is not a passive lens through which we view the world. It is an active, creative force. It shapes our emotions, guides our actions, and ultimately determines the quality of our lives. By choosing to see obstacles as opportunities to separate events from our judgments about them, and to see the humanity in others, we are not just engaging in positive thinking. We are actively designing a better reality for ourselves. We are taking responsibility for our own happiness and our own growth. This is the ultimate expression of human freedom and power. This journey into the power of perspective is a call to action. It is an invitation to become a more conscious architect of your own life. It asks you to pick up the tools of philosophy and start building. Examine the blueprints you have been using. Are they serving you? Are you building a life of strength, purpose, and peace? Or are you trapped in a structure of your own making, built from fear and negativity? Remember that at any moment, you can choose a new perspective. You can draw up a new blueprint. You hold the power to decide what kind of life you will build with the materials you have been given. The choice is yours. We have journeyed through suffering and perspective. Now, we arrive at the heart of a truly motivated life. We come to a question so simple yet so profound. Why? Why do you get out of bed in the morning? This is the most practical and powerful question you can ask yourself. It is the core belief that inspires you. When you know your why, your life gains a sense of clarity and focus. It is the difference between drifting aimlessly and steering your ship with a firm hand. The why is the foundation upon which a truly fulfilling life is built. Her journey will guide us in the most important quest of all, the discovery of our own why. Every person knows what they do. A person might say, I am a teacher. A company might say, we sell computers. But very few can articulate why they do it. The why is about purpose. When driven by your why, motivation is tied to your purpose. The why gives the what its meaning. They are living with intention. Simon Sinek's Golden Circle illustrates why, how, and what. Inspiring leaders communicate from the inside out, starting with why. Most do the opposite, communicating from the outside in. Communicating from the inside out speaks to the emotional brain. People buy why you do it. Apple communicates their why, challenging the status quo. Want to buy one? It's an invitation to join a movement. Understand your why to inspire yourself and others. Lead with your why to connect on a deeper level. Offer inspiration, not just a service. To see the incredible power of a why in action, we must turn to a story that is both heartbreaking and profoundly inspiring. It is the story of a young girl who lived in the Swat Valley in Pakistan. Her name is Malala Yousafzai. She loved learning. For her, school was not a chore, it was a privilege, a gateway to a bigger world of ideas and possibilities. Her why was simple and clear from a very young age. She believed that every child, and especially every girl, had the right to an education. This was not just an opinion she held, it was the core principle that guided her entire being. Her world was turned upside down when the Taliban, a violent extremist group, took control of her region. They imposed a harsh and repressive rule, banning television, music, and most devastatingly for Malala, education for girls. They declared that girls should not go to school. They blew up schools and intimidated teachers and students. In this climate of fear, most people fell silent. It was safer to comply, to stay home, to give up on the dream of learning. To speak out was to risk everything. The threat was not abstract, it was real, and it was deadly. But Malala's why was stronger than her fear. She could not accept a world where her right to learn was denied. She felt a deep responsibility to speak up for herself and for all the other girls who had been silenced. Encouraged by her father, who was also an educator and activist, she started to speak out. She began writing a blog for the BBC under a pseudonym, describing what life was like under the Taliban and her determination to keep learning. She began giving interviews and appearing in documentaries. Her voice, though young, was becoming a powerful force for the cause of education. Her actions were a direct expression of her purpose. She was not just a girl who wanted to go to school, she was a girl who was fighting for the of school, for the fundamental right to education. Her why was so clear and so deeply held that it compelled her to act, even in the face of mortal danger. She was not driven by a desire for fame or recognition. She was driven by a conviction that what was happening was wrong, and that she had a duty to say so. This is the nature of a powerful purpose. It transforms a person from a passive victim of circumstance into an active agent of change. The Taliban recognized the power of Malala's voice. They saw her not just as a disobedient child, but as a threat to their entire ideology. Her courage was a direct challenge to their campaign of fear, and so they decided to silence her. On October 9, 2012, as Malala was riding the bus home from school, a masked gunman boarded the bus, asked for her by name, and shot her in the head. The act was meant to be an execution, a final and brutal message to anyone who dared to defy them. They believed that a bullet could extinguish her why. They were wrong. The attack was horrific, but it did not silence Malala. In a way, it did the opposite. It amplified her voice 1,000 times over. The story of the girl who was shot for wanting an education spread like wildfire across the globe. It sparked outrage and a massive outpouring of support. Malala survived, and after a long and difficult recovery, she emerged not as a victim, but as a global leader. Her why had not only survived the assault, it had been forged into something even stronger in the crucible of that violence. She had become a living symbol of the cause she had championed. Her purpose became her shield and her sword. It gave her the courage to continue her fight on a global stage. She addressed the United Nations, met with world leaders, and established the Malala Fund, a charity dedicated to ensuring that every girl has the opportunity to get 12 years of free, safe, quality education. She famously said, "The terrorists thought that they would change our aims and stop our ambitions, but nothing changed in my life except this. Weakness, fear, and hopelessness died. Strength, power, and courage was born." Her why had consumed her fear and transformed it into fuel. Malala's story is a dramatic and powerful illustration of the Golden Circle. She did not gain global support by talking about what she wanted, to go to school. She inspired the world by communicating her why, the belief that every girl deserves an education. People who believed what she believed rallied to her cause. Her personal story became the vehicle for a universal ideal. It shows that a purpose, when it is clear, authentic, and deeply held, has a power that cannot be defeated by force. It proves that a single voice animated by a powerful why can indeed be louder and more enduring than a gunshot. Where does the courage to face down fear and danger truly come from? Where does the courage to face down fear and danger truly come from? Is it a special quality that only a few heroic individuals are born with? Malala's story, and the stories of countless other brave individuals throughout history, suggest a different answer. Courage is not the absence of fear. Malala has spoken about the fear she felt. Courage is the judgment that something else is more important than fear. That something else is your purpose. Your why acts as a shield. When you hold it up in front of you, it does not make the arrows of fear disappear, but it gives you the strength to withstand their impact and keep moving forward. Think about it in a more everyday context. A firefighter rushing into a burning building is certainly afraid. The fear is a natural and intelligent response to a life-threatening situation, but their purpose, to save lives, is more powerful than their fear. Their why gives them the courage to act in spite of the danger. A parent who sacrifices their own needs for the well-being of their child does so because their love and responsibility for that child, their why, overrides their desire for personal comfort. In these moments, purpose provides a compelling reason to be brave. This is why discovering your why is so crucial for personal resilience. When you are just trying to get through the day, any significant obstacle can feel overwhelming. A difficult conversation, a risk of failure, a moment of public speaking. These can trigger a fear response that paralyzes you, but when these actions are connected to a larger purpose, the equation changes. You are no longer just having a difficult conversation, You are standing up for your values. You are not just risking failure, you are pursuing a dream that matters to you. Your why reframes the fear, turning it from a stop sign into a hurdle that you are motivated to overcome. This concept connects back to Viktor Frankl's discoveries in the concentration camps. The prisoners who survived were those who had a purpose, a reason to endure the fear and suffering of each day. Their why was their mental and spiritual shield. Malala's story is a modern-day testament to this same truth. Her belief in education was so central to her identity that the fear of death became secondary. When your purpose is strong enough, it organizes and directs all your other emotions, including fear. It does not eliminate the fear, but it puts it in its proper place, as a passenger in your car, not the driver. The power of a single purpose-driven individual is not limited to their own actions. A clear and authentic why has a ripple effect. It radiates outward, inspiring others to find their own purpose and join in a collective cause. Malala Yousafzai did not just go back to school herself. Her unwavering commitment to her why ignited a global conversation about girls' education. She inspired millions of people, students, teachers, politicians, and ordinary citizens, to take action. She became a catalyst, turning her personal struggle into a global movement. One person's conviction became a source of strength for countless others. This ripple effect is how all great social change begins. It rarely starts with a committee or a government decree. It starts with one person or a small group of people who have a why that is so powerful it becomes contagious. Think of Martin Luther King Jr. He had a dream, a why, that was rooted in the deep belief in equality and justice. He did not give people a 10-point plan to end segregation. He shared his why, and those who believed in that same dream joined him. The millions who marched on Washington did so not for him, but for themselves, because his why gave voice to the deepest aspirations in their own hearts. This principle works on a smaller scale as well. Think of a teacher in a school who is deeply passionate about their why of sparking curiosity in their students. Their enthusiasm does not just affect the students in their classroom, it ripples out to their colleagues who are inspired to try new things. It ripples out to the parents who become more engaged in their children's learning. It can slowly but surely change the culture of an entire school. One person living their purpose with conviction can elevate everyone around them. Their why acts like a rising tide that lifts all boats. This is an incredibly hopeful and empowering idea. It means that you do not have to be a world leader or a Nobel Prize winner to have a significant impact. Your task is to find your own why and live it with authenticity and courage. By doing so, you will naturally inspire the people in your sphere of influence. Your family, your friends, your workplace, your community. You cannot predict how far the ripples will travel, but you can be certain that by starting with yourself, you are casting a stone of positive change into the world. Your purpose-driven life becomes your greatest contribution, a gift that keeps on giving in ways you may never even see. After hearing inspiring stories like Malala's, a common question arises: how do I find my why? There is often an expectation that discovering your purpose should be a sudden, dramatic moment of revelation, like a lightning bolt from the sky. We imagine that one day we will just wake up and know, but for most people it does not work that way. Discovering your why is rarely a single event. It is a process of exploration, reflection, and excavation. It is more like being an archaeologist, carefully brushing away the dust and debris of other people's expectations to uncover the treasure that has been inside you all along. The why is not something you invent or create from scratch. It is already there. It is woven into the fabric of your life, your experiences, your values, and your passions. The work is to uncover it and articulate it clearly. This process requires patience and self-compassion. It is not a race. There is no deadline for discovering your purpose. It is a journey of self-discovery that unfolds over time. The pressure to have a perfect, world-changing why right now can be paralyzing. It is better to start with a simple, honest exploration of what truly matters to you. One of the biggest obstacles in this process is the noise of the outside world. From a young age, we are told what we should value. Society, family, and media all offer us ready-made definitions of success. A good job, a nice house, financial security. These are not bad things, but they are what's, not whys. The journey to find your why requires you to quiet that external noise and learn to listen to your own inner voice. It means distinguishing between the goals you have adopted from others and the purpose that genuinely resonates with your deepest self. So let go of the idea that you need to have a sudden epiphany. Instead, approach the task with curiosity and a spirit of inquiry. See yourself as a detective investigating the mystery of your own motivation. The clues are scattered throughout your life story. The following sections will offer some practical ways to begin looking for those clues. Remember, the goal is not to find a final, perfect answer overnight. The goal is to begin the process, to start asking the questions, and to take the first steps on the path toward a more purpose-driven life. The journey itself is part of the purpose. The first place to search for your why is within your own life story. Your past is a rich repository of clues about what truly drives you. The process involves looking back at your life not to dwell on regrets but to identify recurring themes and patterns. A powerful exercise is to identify specific moments or experiences from your life that you would describe as high points. These are not necessarily moments of conventional success, but moments when you felt truly alive, engaged, and authentic. Think of a time when you completely lost track of time because you were so absorbed in what you were doing. What were you doing? And more importantly, why did it feel so meaningful? Another set of clues can be found in your challenges and struggles. As we learned from Viktor Frankl, meaning can often be found in our pain. Think about the most difficult experiences you have overcome. What was the inner resource you drew upon to get through them? What did you learn about yourself and what you value in those moments? Often, our purpose is forged in the fire of our adversity. A person who overcame a great personal health challenge might find their why in helping others navigate their own health journeys. The problem you have solved for yourself is often the one you are best equipped to help others solve. You can also look for patterns in the things that consistently make you angry or frustrated. Anger is often a sign that a deeply held value is being violated. If you get angry about injustice, your why might be related to fighting for fairness. If you get frustrated by inefficiency and waste, your why might be about creating clarity and order. Your frustrations are a compass pointing toward the things you care about most. They reveal what you believe should be different in the world. This is not about being a negative person. It is about using your emotional responses as data to understand your core convictions. Take some time to write down the stories from your past, the triumphs, the struggles, the moments of joy, and the moments of anger. As you gather these stories, look for a common thread. What is the recurring theme? What is the value that connects them? Is it a desire to help others grow, a passion for creating beauty, a drive to solve complex problems, a commitment to building community? By sifting through the raw material of your own experience, you can begin to see the shape of your why emerging. It is the golden thread that runs through the entire narrative of your life. While your why is deeply personal, it's rarely just about you. A truly powerful purpose is almost always connected to serving others and contributing to something larger than yourself. So the second place to look for clues is not inward but outward. It really involves shifting your focus from what do I want, to what does the world need that I am uniquely equipped to provide. Now this isn't about becoming a martyr or neglecting your own needs. It's about finding that sweet spot where your personal passions and talents intersect with a genuine need in the world. This intersection is often where the most profound sense of purpose is found. Start by observing the world around you with a compassionate and curious eye. What problems do you see in your community, your industry, or even the world at large? What are the struggles and pains that people experience? Which of these problems genuinely moves you? You can't solve every problem in the world, so it's important to pay attention to the ones that resonate with you on an emotional level. Is it the loneliness of the elderly, the lack of opportunity for young people, the degradation of the natural environment, or maybe the spread of misinformation? Let your heart guide you toward the challenges that you feel a natural pull to address. Next, take an honest inventory of your unique gifts and talents. What are you naturally good at? What skills have you developed over the years? What do people consistently come to you for help with? This isn't a time for false modesty. Everyone has a unique combination of strengths. Maybe you're a great listener, a talented organizer, a creative problem solver, or a natural teacher. These aren't just skills, they're the tools you've been given to make your contribution. Your why will likely involve using your greatest strengths in service of others. The final step is to connect the dots. Look at the list of world needs that move you and the list of your personal strengths. Where's the overlap? How could you use what you do best to help solve a problem you care about most? This is where your purpose really begins to take a concrete form. For example, a person who is moved by loneliness and is a great organizer might find their why in creating community events. A person who cares about the environment and is a talented writer might find their why in communicating complex environmental issues to the public. By looking outward, you make sure that your why is not just a self-absorbed passion, but a meaningful contribution. A true why, in the sense that we've been discussing, comes with a profound sense of responsibility. It's not just a feel-good statement that makes you happy, it's a commitment. It's a declaration of how you intend to use your life to contribute to the well-being of others. A why that is purely self-serving, like my purpose is to be rich or my purpose is to be famous, lacks the resonant power that inspires both yourself and others. Those are outcomes, not purposes. A genuine why is always directed outward. It's about service. It's about adding value to other people's lives. This idea is deeply rooted in philosophical and spiritual traditions around the world. From the Christian concept of agape, which is selfless love, to the Buddhist ideal of the bodhisattva, one who delays their own enlightenment to help all beings, the idea of a purpose-driven life is inextricably linked to service. It's the recognition that we're all interconnected and that a meaningful life is one that acknowledges and acts upon that interconnection. When your why is focused on serving others, it provides a source of motivation that's far more stable and enduring than any selfish desire. This focus on service also has a paradoxical benefit. It's actually one of the most effective paths to personal happiness and fulfillment. When we're consumed by our own problems and desires, our world can become very small and stressful. But when we shift our focus to helping others, our own problems often seem to shrink in comparison. The act of contributing to something larger than ourselves gives us a sense of significance and belonging that can be profoundly joyful. As Martin Luther King Jr. said, everybody can be great, because anybody can serve. You only need a heart full of grace, a soul generated by love. So, as you work to articulate your why, it's essential to frame it in terms of the contribution you want to make. Instead of my why is to be a successful artist, you might frame it as, my why is to create art that helps people see the world in a new way and feel less alone. Instead of my why is to build a successful company, it could be my why is to build a company that solves a real problem for people and creates a positive work environment for my team. This shift from receiving to giving is what transforms a personal ambition into a true purpose. It's the responsibility that comes with knowing your why. Discovering and articulating your why is a monumental first step, but honestly, it's only the first step. A purpose statement that's just framed and hung on the wall is useless if it doesn't translate into action. The real challenge, and the real reward, comes from living on purpose. This means consciously and consistently aligning your daily choices and actions with your stated why. It's about closing the gap between the person you want to be and the person you are in your day-to-day life. It's the ongoing process of making your why the guiding principle for everything you do. This alignment requires discipline and self-awareness. It means regularly pausing to ask yourself if your actions are in integrity with your purpose. Are you spending your time, your most precious resource, on things that truly matter to you? Is your work, even the mundane parts of it, connected to your larger why? Are your relationships reflecting the values you claim to hold? This isn't about achieving perfection, it's about course correction. When you notice a misalignment, you gently guide yourself back on track, not with self-criticism, but with a renewed commitment to your purpose. Living on purpose can really transform your experience of life. When your actions are aligned with your why, you feel a sense of wholeness and integrity. There's less internal conflict and friction. You're no longer living a fragmented life where you're one person at work, another at home, and another in your community. You're simply you, acting from a consistent and authentic core. This creates a powerful sense of inner peace and confidence. Even when you face external challenges, you have an internal anchor that keeps you steady. This is, in many ways, the ultimate practical application of philosophy. It's taking your deepest beliefs about what matters and making them the operating system for your life. It means your why is not just an idea you think about, but a reality you live. It could mean changing careers, starting a new project, ending an unhealthy relationship, or simply changing how you show up in your existing roles. It's the courageous work of shaping your life to be a true expression of your deepest purpose. Every aligned action, no matter how small, is a vote for the person you want to become and the contribution you want to make. As we conclude this exploration of purpose, it's crucial to remember one final truth. Living with purpose is a journey, not a destination. Your why is not some static endpoint that you reach one day and then you're done. It's really more like a living, breathing compass that guides you on a lifelong adventure. Your understanding of your purpose will deepen and evolve as you grow and change. The way you express your why will shift in different seasons of your life. The commitment is not to a single, unchanging expression of your purpose, but to the ongoing process of living in alignment with it. This perspective, honestly, frees us from the pressure of having it all figured out. It gives us permission to be a work in progress. The goal is not to arrive at a state of perfect, purposeful enlightenment. The goal is to stay on the path, to keep asking the questions, to keep listening for the answers, and to keep taking the next right step. There will be days when you feel deeply connected to your why, and days when you feel lost and disconnected. This is normal. The practice is to simply keep returning to your compass, to your core beliefs, and to let them guide your way forward again. The stories of figures like Malala Yousafzai are powerful because they show us the extraordinary potential that is unleashed when a person connects with their why. But their journey is not over, and neither is ours. The purpose-driven life is lived one day at a time, one choice at a time. It's found in the courage to speak up for what you believe in, the discipline to align your actions with your values, and the compassion to serve something larger than yourself. It's a commitment to making your life a message, an answer to the great question of why you are here. So let this be your takeaway from our third act. The search for your why is the noblest adventure you can undertake. It is the foundation of resilience, the source of courage, and the key to a life of deep and lasting fulfillment. It's the bridge between the philosophical question of what is a good life and the practical reality of living one. Don't wait for a moment of perfect clarity. Begin the process now. Look inward, look outward, and listen for the quiet whisper of your purpose. Then, step by step, choice by choice, begin the beautiful, challenging, and infinitely rewarding journey of living it. We've explored the search for meaning, the power of perspective, and the drive of purpose. But there comes a time when these internal states must meet the external world. There comes a moment when our beliefs, our values, and our why are put to the test. This is the moment that calls for courage. Courage is the bridge between our inner convictions and our outer actions. It's the quality that allows us to act in alignment with our principles, especially when doing so is difficult, unpopular, or even dangerous. It's the spark of defiance that says, "This is what I believe and I will not be moved." Courage is often misunderstood. We tend to picture it as grand, heroic acts on a battlefield or in a moment of extreme crisis. We think of it as a fearless quality possessed only by a select few, but honestly, that's a limited view. Courage isn't the absence of fear, it's the mastery of fear. It's feeling the fear and acting anyway because your purpose demands it. It can be as loud as a revolutionary speech or as quiet as a refusal to give up your seat. It's found in any act, big or small, where a person chooses integrity over comfort and truth over convenience. It's the essential ingredient for all meaningful change, both in our own lives and in the world. This act is about that very spark. It's about the moment when a person's philosophical foundation becomes so strong that it compels them to act in a way that challenges the status quo. It's the point where philosophy ceases to be about contemplation and becomes about confrontation. Not necessarily a violent confrontation, but a confrontation with injustice, with ignorance, with complacency, or even with our own inertia. It's the moment when we decide that the way things are is not the way they have to be, and that we have a role to play in changing them. To understand this transformative power of courage, we'll look at two pivotal figures from history who, in their own unique ways, changed the world by refusing to back down. We'll travel to ancient Athens to stand with a philosopher who chose death over silence, and we'll sit on a bus in segregated Alabama with a seamstress whose quiet dignity ignited a movement. Their stories are separated by millennia, but they are united by a common thread: the profound courage that is born when a person's life is fully aligned with a purpose bigger than themselves. They teach us that one person's brave choice can indeed alter the course of history. Our first story of courage takes us to the bustling marketplace of ancient Athens, around 400 BC. Here we find a man who looked nothing like a hero. He was not a great warrior or a wealthy statesman. By most accounts, Socrates was short, stout, and rather unattractive. He didn't write books or deliver grand lectures. Instead, he spent his days wandering the city, engaging in conversation with anyone who would talk to him: merchants, politicians, artists, and young aristocrats. His method was simple but honestly pretty revolutionary. He asked questions. He didn't claim to have the answers. His self-professed wisdom was in knowing that he knew nothing. Socrates was what he called a gadfly. A gadfly is a fly that stings livestock to keep them moving. Socrates saw it as his divine mission to be the gadfly of Athens. He believed his city had become lazy, arrogant and complacent like a large, noble horse that had grown sluggish. His job was to sting it, to wake it up, to force it to think. He would ask seemingly simple questions like what is justice, or what is courage, or what is virtue. A politician who claimed to be just would be relentlessly questioned by Socrates until he had to admit he could not define the very quality he claimed to possess. This process, known as the Socratic method, was deeply unsettling to the powerful people of Athens. Why was this so dangerous? Because Socrates was challenging the very foundations of his society. He was teaching the youth of Athens not to accept authority blindly, but to question everything. He was exposing the ignorance of those who claimed to be wise. He was suggesting that a life based on tradition, wealth, or power, without deep self-examination, was a life not worth living. In a society that valued conformity and respect for elders, Socrates was a disruptive force. He was not trying to overthrow the government, he was trying to start a revolution in the minds of his fellow citizens. This was an act of profound philosophical courage. It would have been so much easier for Socrates to live a quiet life, to keep his thoughts to himself, and to avoid upsetting the powerful, but his why, his purpose, was to pursue truth and to help others do the same. He believed that the path to a good life and a just society was through reason and self-knowledge. He was so committed to this purpose that he was willing to face ridicule, anger, and eventually a mortal threat. His courage was not that of a soldier facing an enemy army, but that of a thinker facing a world of entrenched and unexamined beliefs. The relentless questioning of Socrates eventually led to a breaking point. The powerful figures he had embarrassed and the traditionalists whose values he had challenged decided they had had enough of this gadfly. At the age of 70, Socrates was arrested and put on trial. The official charges were impiety, not believing in the gods of the state, and corrupting the youth of Athens. But honestly, the real charge, the unspoken one, was that he was a dangerous nuisance who refused to conform. His trial was not just about his actions, it was about his entire philosophy of life. It was a showdown between the power of the state and the integrity of the individual. During his trial, Socrates did not behave like a man fighting for his life. He did not beg for mercy or try to flatter his jury of 501 Athenian citizens. Instead, he used the courtroom as his final classroom. He delivered a powerful defense of his life and his purpose. He explained his role as a gadfly, arguing that he was a gift from the gods to the city, a necessary irritant to keep it morally and intellectually awake. It was during this defense that he uttered one of the most famous and powerful statements in the history of philosophy: "The unexamined life is not worth living." This statement was the core of his entire existence. For Socrates, life was not just about breathing, eating, and working. The unique and noble purpose of a human being was to use our capacity for reason to examine our own lives, our beliefs, and our values. A life lived on autopilot, simply following tradition or chasing pleasure without asking why, was a life wasted. It was a life no better than that of an animal. He was arguing that the pursuit of self-knowledge and virtue was the most important human activity, more important than wealth, more important than fame, and even more important than life itself. By making this stand, Socrates was making a courageous choice. He was choosing integrity over survival. He was offered a way out. He could have proposed his own punishment of exile, leaving Athens forever. He could have promised to stop practicing philosophy, to live a quiet life, and no longer question the powerful. This would have saved his life, but in his view, it would have been a betrayal of his why, his divine mission. He would have been abandoning the very principle that gave his life meaning. For Socrates, a life without philosophy, an unexamined life, was a kind of death in itself. He preferred a true death to a false life. The jury found Socrates guilty. The jury found Socrates guilty and sentenced him to death. Instead of pleading for mercy, Socrates boldly suggested he deserved to be honored, not punished, infuriating the jury further. Even when his friends offered him a chance to escape, Socrates refused, insisting that breaking the law would betray his principles. He calmly drank the hemlock, his final words hinting that death was a release, not a defeat. Socrates' unwavering commitment to his ideals became his legacy. He showed the world that some principles are worth more than life itself. His courage echoes through history, inspiring others to stand for their convictions. Fast forward to Montgomery, Alabama, 1955. Another act of courage would change history. Rosa Parks, a quiet seamstress, refused to give up her seat to a white passenger on a segregated bus. Her simple no was a powerful act of defiance against an unjust system. In a world designed to crush her spirit, Parks's refusal was a spark that ignited a movement. Her quiet courage challenged the status quo and inspired a nation. Sometimes the most powerful resistance is a single, resolute word. Rosa Parks's no became a turning point in the fight for civil rights. Arrested for her refusal, Rosa Parks's calm dignity became a rallying point for the civil rights movement. Her act was not accidental. She was a seasoned activist, deeply involved in the NAACP and trained in nonviolent resistance. Parks was not just tired from work, she was tired of injustice. Her decision was deliberate, rooted in years of preparation and conviction. Parks's courage was both personal and strategic, knowing her stand could spark change. She showed that courage is built over time through community and commitment. Like Socrates, she valued integrity over comfort or safety. Her stand inspired a movement that would reshape America. Rosa Parks's refusal was about dignity, not just a seat. By saying no, she rejected a system that demanded her dehumanization. Her act embodied the philosophical principle that every person has intrinsic worth. The Jim Crow laws treated black people as means, not ends. Parks demanded respect. Her nonviolent resistance exposed the injustice for all to see. The Montgomery bus boycott, sparked by her courage, united a community in sustained protest. Their collective action led to a Supreme Court victory ending bus segregation. Parks proved that one person's stand can move mountains. Socrates and Rosa Parks, two ordinary people, extraordinary courage. Their bravery came from living in alignment with their deepest values. Socrates' pursuit of truth and Parks' belief in dignity guided their actions, even at great personal cost. Their stories show that true courage is a decision to act on your convictions. When your why becomes your guide, you find the strength to do what's right. Courage is not about fearlessness, but about living your values, no matter the risk. Their legacies remind us, conviction can change the world. Courage isn't a single, spontaneous act, it's the result of a lifetime of preparation. Socrates' final stand was built on years of questioning and integrity. Rosa Parks' defiance was the culmination of activism, training, and community support. Their famous moments were the visible peaks of much deeper foundations. Courage is built through small, everyday choices and acts of integrity. Every time you stand up for what's right, you strengthen your courage. It's a habit, a practice, a way of life. True courage is cultivated one decision at a time. The stories of Socrates and Rosa Parks are not just historical anecdotes to be admired from a distance. They are a call to action. They are an invitation to each of us to look at our own lives and ask where courage is required. You may not be called upon to drink hemlock or to spark a national movement. Your stage may be your family, your workplace, your community, or simply the quiet landscape of your own heart. But you will undoubtedly face moments that demand courage. These are the moments when your comfort and your convictions will collide. Your moment of courage might be the decision to leave a secure but soul-crushing job, to pursue work that aligns with your why. It might be the courage to apologize and take responsibility for a mistake you have made. It might be the bravery to stand up to a bully, not with aggression, but with calm and assertive dignity. It might be the courage to set boundaries in a relationship that is draining you, or the courage to be vulnerable and ask for help when you are struggling. These are the modern-day equivalents of choosing integrity over convenience. To find this courage, we can follow the blueprint left by our historical guides. First, do the philosophical work. Clarify your values, define your why. Build your inner citadel of principle and purpose so that you know what you stand for. Second, practice in small ways. Don't wait for a major crisis to test your bravery. Practice being courageous in your daily interactions. Each small act builds your capacity for larger ones. Third, find your community. Surround yourself with people who support your values and who will encourage you to be your best self. Courage is contagious. The world does not change only through grand, sweeping gestures. It changes through the cumulative effect of countless small acts of courage performed by ordinary people every day. When you choose to act with integrity, you do more than just improve your own life. You cast a ripple of courage into the world. You inspire others. You make it a little bit easier for the next person to make the right choice. Socrates and Rosa Parks teach us that a life of purpose and a life of courage are one and the same. Now it is your turn to answer the call. It is your turn to be brave. We have traveled a great distance together on this journey. We began with a simple premise, that philosophy is a vital tool for living a better life. Our journey has taken us through the darkest corners of human history. We have walked through 3 distinct landscapes of thought. First, the search for meaning in the face of suffering. Next, we explored the incredible reality-shaping power of perspective. Finally, we delved into the engine of action, the power of a clear and compelling purpose. As we gather these threads, we see they form the fabric of courage. Philosophy is not passive contemplation, but an active, brave act of living. Living by your principles requires courage to be different and challenge the status quo. Socrates showed the courage of intellectual integrity, a principle worth dying for. Rosa Parks demonstrated quiet, dignified courage, rooted in a deep sense of why. Finding meaning gives us a reason to be brave. Philosophy, when truly lived, is an act of bravery. This is an invitation to start your own personal renaissance, a commitment to becoming the philosopher of your own life. You have already taken the first step by journeying through these ideas. Becoming the philosopher of your life means taking full ownership of your inner world. It means accepting the profound responsibility that comes with the freedom to choose your attitude, your perspective, and your purpose. It is about learning to ask better questions and developing the habit of self-reflection. This is a lifelong practice, a journey of continuous growth and discovery. By embracing this role, you embark on the ultimate adventure. We have covered a lot of ground. The ideas are big and the stories are powerful. It can feel like a lot to take in, and you might be wondering, where do I possibly begin? The answer is simple. You do not need to overhaul your entire life overnight. You do not need to have all the answers right now. The journey of 1,000 miles, as the old proverb goes, begins with a single step, and the journey to a more philosophical, purpose-driven life begins with a single question. Your final invitation is not to do everything, but to start with one thing. Start with one question. Perhaps the question that resonates most with you right now is Frankl's. What is my life asking of me in this moment? Think about a current challenge you are facing. What meaning could be hidden within it? What opportunity for growth does it present? How can you face it with a sense of purpose and dignity? Spend some time this week just thinking about that one question. Do not pressure yourself to find a grand answer. Just live with the question. Let it guide your thoughts and actions. See what new insights emerge when you look at your challenge through this lens. Or maybe the question that calls to you is from the Stoics. What is truly within my control and what is not? The next time you feel anxious, angry, or overwhelmed, pause and ask yourself this. Separate the external event from your internal judgment. Focus your energy only on what you can control, your response, your attitude, your actions. Practice letting go of the rest. This one question, practiced consistently, can radically reduce your stress and increase your sense of peace and personal power. It is a simple tool with a profound impact. Or perhaps you are ready to start with the most powerful question of all. Why? What is your purpose? What is the contribution you want to make? Do not try to write a perfect mission statement. Just start by jotting down some ideas. What gets you excited? What makes you angry? What are you good at? What do others need? Let this question be your companion. Let it simmer in the back of your mind. A clear why is the ultimate source of motivation. It is the compass that will guide all your other choices. The journey to a meaningful life starts with the courage to ask what that meaning is. Start today. Start with one.